Alright, so I need you to put yourself in my shoes for a minute. You fell in love with a stressful as heck TV show. A character's life is in danger, and there's only 2 minutes left in the episode, but you gotta bounce out early. You return next week, and in the previously on section, you learn that character died in those last 2 minutes. How would you feel? What's up, homies? Red Ghost here, and you may have noticed my tweets lately I focused on the death of beloved characters of mine. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then follow me on Twitter and Instagram at redhood_ghost. Today, as the title suggests, I'm diving into a dissection of a dominant concept in stories worldwide, from cartoons to comics to movies, novels, and beyond: character death. Why is it a concept and not just a thing that happens? That's because character death in those mediums must serve one of 3 functions. It must change a character or characters in the story, change the nature/course of the story, or change the reader/viewer's perception of the story. But the best stories aim to achieve all 3. I want to explore how some of the shows, movies, and novels I've watched and read respectively have used death properly, and some that unfortunately failed at it. For one show in particular, I'll give an example of the great and the bait. Get it? You already saw it in the thumbnail, so might as well start there. Laurel Lance from Arrow was one of the worst deaths I've ever seen. Now, I want to put a disclaimer that I'm no comic book aficionado, so it didn't bug me that she and Oliver didn't end up together. But to kill her over Felicity at the end of season 4 was... You know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's backtrack a little bit. Arrow Season 4 started with the promise of a return to form by giving us a flash forward to Oliver and Barry visiting a grave together. It tells the audience from the jump a fatality is coming. They did that well enough. They just had to lay out breadcrumbs and stakes for each character, minus Oliver, obviously, passing away. Again, they did that well, for only one character though. Felicity was no longer the only tech genius on the show after the introduction of Mr. Terrific. She had bonds with Oliver and Barry, both of whom were present at the grave, and we learned about the child Oliver had that broke him and Felicity up. If it didn't break them up, don't slay me in the comments, I haven't watched the show in years. That being said, on the other end, Laurel's story was opening up more at that same time instead of shrinking. She was going to be the district attorney of Star City, or some other big shot lawyer in the city. Again, it's been years, I don't know the exact lore. So I thought we'd get more of that again next season. Nope. Arrow to the solar plexus. I was close to leaving this show after Oliver and Felicity literally drove into the sunset at the end of season 3, but killing the character I liked on top of that for no reason was the last nail in the coffin. And one thing I do know is that it was for no reason. They later admitted to not knowing who was going to die at the start of the season, and if that was it, I could probably forgive them. Not every writer is great at planning ahead. But they literally bring the actor back just to play another version of the character. And yes, I did stop watching, but I had friends who stuck it out, and they would tell me tidbits that would trigger me. Some friends, right? Anyway, the death of Laurel did hit all the marks. Laurel's death did hit her father very hard. It eliminated a new avenue for this show to explore future stories, since Laurel would not become the judge/district attorney. And it made me finally lose faith in the writers of that show. The death of Laurel gets 0 Yamcha bodies out of 5. But now we can talk about the other half of the thumbnail, the death of Dr. Land Sweets from Bones. Flat out, it hits all 3 marks. I was so devastated by the death that I couldn't even think of how it would affect the episodes moving forward. It took away an entire avenue of criminal investigation that Sweets excelled at. The main characters of Bones, Booth and Bones, took his death quite hard, as they were both present when he expired. The death of Dr. Land Sweets gets 4.5 Yamcha bodies out of 5. I'm taking away that last half point because I love Sweets, and I'm still salty. Remember when I said one show had both good and bad deaths? It's that time to hit up one of the greatest cinematic and dramatic TV shows to take my generation by storm. Game of Thrones. You can't talk about death in Game of Thrones and not mention the death of this gem of a character in front of onlookers unworthy of his splendor. That's right, I'm talking about Ned Stark. Wait, what? Ghost, stop messing with the script, man. Sorry, that was supposed to say the Red Viper, aka Oberyn Martell. Another show, another season for death. This time it comes to us from the flamboyant, cunning, and very angry Oberyn Martell. From the moment he arrives in Westeros, he makes his sinister intentions clear. He wants to avenge the death of his sister and her children at the hands of the Mountain. By the end of the season, he gets his chance, and in a normal fight with no emotional stakes, he maybe could have claimed victory. Unfortunately, the so-so writers who were able to straight copy a genius writer managed to create an iconic scene of that battle that I sometimes rewatch to this very day. The death of the Red Viper did not hit all the marks, at least not substantially. Yes, it changed the course of the story by making Tyrion's escape across the sea necessary, but I don't see how it changed any characters that mattered. I don't consider revenge a worthwhile change, as that's the easy answer. Tyrion also doesn't remember him or bring him up at all after the fight, and Cersei only brings it up to torture his wife later on. Oberyn's death itself was executed well, but it was immediately overshadowed by Tywin's death and my curiosity for how the show was going to tackle Tyrion's overseas journey since they omitted Jaime's last-minute Tysha confession. I promised I'd explain the bad Game of Thrones death, and I'm about to deliver, and it is a doozy. You ready? Here he is. His Darzo. Go, stop it. The Night King is the bad death I was originally supposed to say, and I don't mean who killed him. I'm fine with it being Arya. I'm just annoyed with the build up to his fall and the near immediate dismissal of that threat. We'd spent time since Season 6 learning about the origin of the White Walkers, from how they came to be to their weaknesses. Dragonglass was said to be Dragonfire made steel several times throughout the show. We'd seen Dragonglass work on White Walkers, but for obvious reasons, the Night King had to be special. I thought my reasoning that more than Dragonfire or Dragonglass was needed was validated when Daenerys went all Dracarys on him and he survived and smirked. I thought more research into the age-old time the White Walkers first roamed the earth would lead to a clue, especially when Jon and Daenerys found that cave. But it mattered so little that nobody thought to question how to prevent a potential future resurrection of the White Walkers. I know I would have. In short, his death changed no characters, though a few died fighting to stop him, but a lot of them didn't. But I'm not here to talk about that. His death did not change my perspective of the show favorably. His death did not change the course of the show to a degree I thought was necessary. So, the death of the Night King gets 0 Yamcha bodies out of 5 to reanimate. Spoiler warning ahead for individuals not entirely caught up with Forest Academy, because this next example shows how to reinforce a character through death. How's that done? Well, there are a couple of ways to go about it, but this is how I chose to do so. In FHA Series 1, I had Nuria's early journey lead her down a slightly self-destructive path, and that put her on a collision course with an assassin. The assassin was stronger than Nuria and Tyra, and it looked like they wouldn't make it. However, a power inside Nuria takes control, and in no time Nuria kills the assassin, leaving nothing behind but a hand. Nuria wasn't cognizant at the time of the kill, but she acknowledged that it was her doing later. I show her accept that it was okay because of self-defense, but nobody can handle a death like that so neatly, especially not as the perpetrator. In Forest Academy Series 2, Nuria comes into conflict with another assassin, this time twice. Her brother and his classmate save her the first time, but during their second fight, Nuria is left to her own devices. She wins the battle physically and mentally, however. First, she physically incapacitates her opponent. Second, even though the assassin makes it clear she intends to follow through on her profession, Nuria says the following: "The last time I fought an assassin Liamria sent after me, I made 2 mistakes. Let me correct one now. What's your name?" And Nuria goes on to explain, "I didn't learn the last one's name until after I killed her. If this fight is going to stick with me too, then I'd like a name to attach to the memory." Later, once Nuria has the assassin incapacitated, and the assassin says, "Thought you were going to kill me," Nuria says, "I told you I made 2 mistakes, remember? Killing that last assassin was the second. I'm not making it again, even if you deserve it." Nuria's acknowledged her own mistakes even when we saw she previously justified it and has vowed to do better. Her journey to that decision is laid out through her experiences in all of Series 1 and Series 2 up until that point. If that alone doesn't make you see that 4 Hearts is worth reading, then that just means I'll have to work harder to convince you in a later video. Anyway, using death to reinforce the character's growth is one way you can use it beyond just shock value. If you follow my examples, you can craft a masterful death scene, and I only brushed the surface. So many more examples and tactics are out there, so if you want me to cover this topic again, just let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, tell me some character deaths that hit you really hard. But that's all I have for today's video. Stay tuned for more content to come. The upload schedule for the channel is Friday to Friday. If a video is not uploaded one Friday, it will be up on the following Friday. All is at 5 p.m. EST. Thank you for checking out the video. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and read the story. Later, homies.